am excited to get to our next topic and our next panel. We are going to be talking about jobs in Web3, that may be created, maybe exist today, will exist in a different form in the metaverse, what that looks like, the best practices for brands, etc. So I'm really excited to welcome Barry and Amogha to the stage. And if you guys could just take maybe a couple minutes each to just talk about who you are and what you do related to the metaverse, and of course the topic of job creation. Barry, you want to go first?
I'd love to. And Ashley, Michael, thank you very much for having me. Amogha, great to see you again. My name is Barry Herbst. I am the Senior Vice President with the Elliott Group. We are one of the leading executive search firms in the hospitality, food and beverage and restaurant space, as well as other consumer verticals, helping teams to build best-in-class leadership and talent across the C-suite, board, and VP. I've been in crypto for 5 years. I've been in NFTs for about 3. Investing, advising, and speaking on all aspects of NFTs, DeFi, Metaverse, and general leadership and talent within the hospitality and consumer industries. So Ashley, Michael, thank you for having me again, and Amogha, great to see you.
Great to see you too, Barry. Nice to have me, Ashley and Michael. So I'm founder and CEO of Carbon Origins. We are a robotics and metaverse company. Our ultimate vision at Carbon Origins is to make robots commonplace and unlock a world where people can focus on whatever we want while the robots take care of the boring work. And today we're focusing on the last mile delivery market, where our robot Skippy is monitored and assisted by a metaverse workforce. People working through the metaverse, monitoring and assisting robots doing deliveries in the real world through VR. And we use that data to train robots to be smarter and get one step closer to our ultimate mission.
Excellent. All right, well, let's dive right in. So first question, let's look at where we are right now. So Amogha, I'll start with you. What are the jobs that look like today? Like we've talked a lot about your workforce on our prep call, and it was really fascinating to kind of learn how folks you're creating all these sort of jobs across the world inside the metaverse. And so what does that look like today? And what is your vision for your platform for the future and other industries you might go into?
Yeah, today people work on our metaverse on 2 main things. One, assisting the robots and navigating the world, and interacting with people as a robot encounters pedestrians or at the consumer level, at the restaurant level. In the future, we see the metaverse hosting jobs for everyone from creatives to customer service professionals. We're already seeing this trend. People are being hired to host parties in the metaverse. People are being hired to moderate VR worlds. And we are hiring people to monitor and assist robots. So it's that early wave of jobs that are going to focus on automation in the front end and creating experiences in this new environment. But almost all jobs are up to transition into the metaverse. Working on a computer, you can work in the metaverse as effectively, or if not more effectively.
Yeah, it feels like the sort of what we're talking about now is the metaverse is acting as another platform to allow folks to sort of take part, even if they're not necessarily helping create it, but by opting into these jobs that are at different skill levels or whatnot. So that's really interesting. Barry, you talk to a lot of food and beverage companies. You help them find talent. What do you, when you're working with a company now, what types of things are you advising them on in terms of skills and the types of roles that they need to look to future-proof their business? And what are executives, what types of skills are you encouraging executives to have when they come to the table looking at the future of food as well?
Yeah, a great question, Ashley. So in terms of, I think one of the most prevalent areas we're seeing combining the food and beverage space with the metaverse and really the future of technology is marketing. I think having that marketing bent, especially digital marketing, being really able to translate how this technology, whatever it may be, is going to add value, not only to the brand, not only to the bottom or top line, but also to the community, but also to those customers. I think something really special about Web3 is the focus on community. Web2 is all about profit, and that's great. Businesses need to make money. Web3 is all about that community. What are brands coming into this space, how are they going to add value to these different, to their consumers in a whole different way, connecting with their consumers, their customers, their patrons. Future roles are going to look like, we're going to see a lot of new roles catering to getting to know the customers at a whole new level, to the aspect of even protecting the consumer's data. Something very important about Web3 is consumers own their own data. If you publish something, you own that. You own the IP to whatever you create. So I think restaurant brands working closely with their consumers is going to be critical here. Something else also is this kind of chief virtual development officer. As brands go into the metaverse, we're going to see a lot of these companies look to the metaverse, whether it's Decentraland, Sandbox, picking up and buying or renting virtual property that they can then, have, to Amogha's point, virtual parties in. People can go on dates. People can do all sorts of things we do in the real tangible world, but online, as we live in this kind of, in the metaverse, become more acclimated to the metaverse.
It seems like one of the big themes, even just in the past two sessions, is this theme around community and how that's the spirit of Web3 being developed on giving tech and power back to people. And Amogha, when we talked in our prep call, you talked a lot about kind of the democratization of tech and how you're equipping people all over the world with this new job opportunities. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about your vision for that.
Yeah. So leading up from what Barry was saying, we're entering Web3, and the type of jobs are going to use new tools in this new of web. The biggest tool here is the VR headset, and now it's commodity level. You can go into any Best Buy or Walmart and pick up a VR headset for under $500, and you're going to get the best VR experience. You're going to get better experience than 2 or 3 years ago with a $2,000 to $3,000 headset. So that's how quickly the hardware is getting commoditized. And then on the networking side, we have game engines that have reached maturity, like Unity. The technology is there now to support large groups of people coming into this virtual world with affordable hardware and hanging out and building communities. And this is how we found every single one of our skipsters. We spent $0 on marketing. We just host events in VR, and droves and droves of people come to these events, and people have written poems about Skippy. Their fans have written comic books about Skippy. They're like fans, like early adopters are going to shape this new community, Web 3.0. And it's going to be very much community driven, and we're seeing that on our platform of Skipsters. We had Skipsters come to CES. We took Skippies to Vegas in January to show them off on the world stage, and we had top 3 Skipsters come up and meet their robots that they're monitoring and assisting through the metaverse. I think community is going to play a key role, just like communities played key roles in the early stages of Web 2.0. We're going to see the same thing in Web 3.0. It's just a different set of tools, different set of jobs, different set of problems, but similar type of people.
Yeah. It seems like something you just mentioned is interesting around like creating, or like it seems like everybody's going to have content creation as part of their job in the metaverse. And I don't mean that to sound like when we say content creation in Web 2.0, it was like, like who can write blogs and do all the, but we're talking about like creating experiences and telling stories, right? And like connecting in a different way. And Barry, one thing that you brought up that I really liked to want to talk more about and dig into is like, what should brands be thinking about in terms of best practices for like maintaining this community and making sure that like, what are their responsibilities as they bring their brand into the virtual environment?
It's a great question, Ashley. I think first, the most important question a brand should ask and the founder should ask themselves is, what are we hoping to gain by going into the metaverse? How does this help our brand? I think, the question is, are you going into the metaverse because everyone else is doing it, because Facebook changed their name to Meta and there's this huge rush of FOMO? Or is it really a business play that now a restaurant group can actually become a technology company, kind of like we've seen Domino's over the last 20, 25 years.
Right.
Yes, they're a pizza company, but the amount of technology and patented technology that they've implemented is astounding. So I think some roles, responsibilities, best practices actually revolve first around giving back to the community, especially in the world of Web3. A brand that completed an NFT drop perfectly in the metaverse with a metaverse component was Budweiser. They partnered with 22 up and coming musicians for their NFT drops. They opened a Discord. They're actively monitoring and communicating, talking to their communities. Discord, which was mentioned earlier in the session, is really one of the homes of Web3, where many of the different projects are, kind of the hub of communication for these projects, as well as Telegram, Twitter, which are really the big three. Budweiser did all the right things. Their team killed it, and I think that Budweiser has been welcomed by the Web3 community as really a paragon of what brands in the traditional F&B space should achieve and strive to do. Focus on community, create a long-term sustainable opportunity that allows for rising stars to showcase themselves, but also have that long-term partnership, positive sum game, not just focused on profit, but also focused really on everyone else.
Something else that we talked about around data, personal, like owning your own data. There's obviously going to be a huge component of security and safety, and brands are going to have to own that in their own communities, right? And Amogha, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how does Carbon Origins think about their users' data, even the skipsters and their privacy and data. How do you protect folks once they enter that virtual space?
Yeah, so we take data very seriously, privacy very seriously, both at the metaverse level and at the robot level. At the robot level, we anonymize the data collected at the robot level, but if it is anything that is identifying, so if it is a person or an address or an asset the person owns, and we are going to be giving people options to opt out of, let's say, your property being mapped onto database as an example. And then on the VR, on the metaverse side, our skipsters are from all around the world. They're from all walks of life. And we want to make sure that they have equitable, sustainable jobs that, they can rely on and they're not being spied on. This is, we're kind of writing the book as we go. There's a lot of things that we can learn from the Upworks of the world, the freelance ecosystems, and we're learning from that and bringing some of those aspects into how people can define their own time, can define their own identity and profile to their avatars. You're not tied to your physical appearance in the metaverse. You can define how you look. You can define who you are. You are a different person on the platform. So that's taking that freelancing, anybody can work from anywhere in the world for anyone, to that whole new level. Now we're giving them this embodiment. And then, Barry brought up some points about experiences, right? Ultimately, we're experiential creatures, humans. And, with our robots, we're trying to create great experiences around food delivery, which is only possible to be delivered if there's people in the back end monitoring and assisting these robots and dealing with edge cases. But also in the VR side, we're creating this platform where people are creating experiences for this new workforce, a place where people can come and work like they are in a brick and mortar office. Brands invest a lot of money and resources into building beautiful websites and building beautiful workflows for their remote employees. It's going to be same in the metaverse. Brands are going to invest a lot of money in building beautiful stores, beautiful offices, beautiful workflows for their work from home employees, and creating those experiences for those remote workers. And while doing all of that, a platform that can protect their identity, can give them a way to present themselves however they want, is going to fundamentally change how people look at jobs, how they look at coworkers, how they interact in the workforce, because they're defining their identity 100% end to end in the metaverse.
Yeah, it seems like this is a particularly important moment because of the time that we're in with a pandemic, sending millions and millions of people home to kind of create their own environments to work in and figure that out. And there's lots of different data that's showing, if you give people autonomy, they can be successful, but the connection that we're missing by all working disparately, can do some harm to the success of the organization. So it seems like the metaverse is, a potential solution for that longer term to kind of, folks don't want to have to go back to a physical office, but they still want some of that irreplaceable, connection and collaboration that you get. So that's, I think, interesting point from that perspective. So yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that on top of Amogha's, really cool tech, just another really interesting, position that we are seeing and doing a lot of work in is training and development. So I foresee a lot of continued training and development, not only in the real world, but also with the headset, which saves companies a lot of money.
Yeah.
Having that experience, whether it's learning how to clean or cook, or even going on a date, having that shopping experience, eating a meal in the metaverse. To your point, Ashley and Amogha, humans are social animals, and we thrive on having that connection with people, whether it's face-to-face, which I love personally, but it's also fun having it with just as we're doing now. And I think that the next iteration of employment, especially at that executive level, we're going to see an embrace of more digitally native and more fluent executives within the hospitality restaurant space, particularly NFTs in the metaverse.
Training is why, sorry, really quick on that. Training is why we started using VR at Carbon Origins, right? When a person is monitoring a remote device with multiple cameras, VR is a great platform to give situational awareness to the remote pilot. You're getting all of the camera feed in your field of vision, like consistent user interface across all the operators, right? So training is, as Barry said, is going to be a big application early on. Training for all sorts of industries, starting with the service industry. I think like what we're seeing is, people can effectively service someone on the other side through the metaverse, and they can be in their home, in their avatar. And that's going to be an exciting first market that we're going to see beyond like robotic assistants.
Yeah, that also goes back to the democratization, because you can offer training and then job opportunities to people who maybe, otherwise wouldn't get that wherever they live or whatever their situation is. So that's really interesting. Barry, someone asked, which I think is a good question, it's the first time they've heard Chief Virtual Officer or Virtual Development Officer. What does that person's, job description look like?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I actually saw that question came in from Christian. We had a great call yesterday. Hi, Christian. Thank you for the question. So traditionally, we do a lot of chief development officer work, and obviously, most of us know that involves site selection, real estate, ground-up development, finding that best-in-class real estate, which is going to make that location shine, brick and mortar. Very much the same in the metaverse. I think we're going to see a lot of these chief development officers maybe pivot to brokering deals or finding that best-in-class digital real estate, whether it's in the sandbox. I think it was Supreet who mentioned Snoop Dogg's house. So Snoop Dogg bought, I think it's like a 9x9 estate in the sandbox, which is one of the leading metaverses in the crypto world. So she alluded to Snoop Dogg, and basically what we could foresee is maybe restaurant groups having, renting land in the metaverse or creating headquarters, working with third-party groups that actually create and build from the ground up in the metaverse an actual building or a headquarters. Because let's remember, when these companies go into the metaverse, especially in the crypto world, they're essentially going after mass adoption or mass recognition very quickly, which is very, very exciting and very, very, sometimes it can be scary depending on the size of the company. As far as the chief virtual officer, some of these traits that I would look for, we're going to see we're going to do a lot of search work in this in this realm. The chief virtual officer will have to be very fluent first in digital land. How do you access what are the best in class metaverses to buy digital land? How do you secure those assets safely? How do you handle a hardware wallet to ensure that you're not going to get hacked, or have your assets stolen or phished? I think, also having that community element, really managing that community and paying it forward is going to be a huge, really, really large focus for this chief virtual officer. And I see this person probably coming from maybe, having a membership background, maybe working with brands that have a membership component. Certainly some aspect of sales is going to be very relevant here. But at the end of the day, it's all about relationships and keeping that community intact.
Yeah, that makes sense. Amogha, do you have something to add?
Yeah, on the other side of the spectrum, right? So that's very specific type of job, right? And then you're going to have jobs that anybody can do in the metaverse as well. Like the jobs that we're creating on our platform. Our skipsters are from all walks of life. They're moms and dads, they're college students, people with disabilities, people from all around the world. And they can choose what time they work, how long they work, with who they work, and what type of jobs that they work on. So there's 100% flexibility on the job side, and it's equitable type of jobs that have no geographical limitations, no physical limitations, and to a large extent, no hardware or technology limitations either, because it is commoditized at this point. So I think we're going to see both types of jobs, right? There's going to be these super specific, you need to have a lot of these nuanced skill sets to define how this new world is going to be built. And then there's going to be the early adopters of these new jobs that are being created. And these jobs should be as easy to, they have to be really simple for people to start adopting. You have to go from, okay, I'm interested in trying this thing out, to, hey, I made my first $1 within a couple of days.
Yeah,
those are the type of jobs that we're very excited about, because that's going to create an economy that is going to catch on like wildfire. That's like a viral economy, and viral economies are things where you can download an app today and you can be working that job tomorrow. We've seen this in the gig economy world.
Yes.
We want to do that in the metaverse.
Yeah.
And also, I would say, I think Amogha is really alluding to gamification. Allowing users of Skippy or any other AR VR technology to have a gamified experience in which they have some skin in the game, whether it's from a native token, if there's a crypto economy within their company, or they're earning fiat. Let's look at Axie. I just want to preface that some people, I think, really underestimate how large the metaverse economy, especially with work, is going to become. If you look at something like Axie Infinity, which is a game, people in the Philippines are earning more playing a game than at their traditional jobs. And now a lot of people are leaving the traditional workforce to play a game, and they're earning a lot more money just by having fun.
Yeah, and gamification is huge, right? We're leveraging that on our platform, and every layer, from how people sign on and block time slots to monitor and assess these robots, to the actual experience of controlling the robot. You're playing a game, and you're being scored against other skipsters. So you're motivated to solve problems for Skippy very effectively and creatively, which leads to better data sets to then train the robot on. It means that the same folks are training Skippy in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Minneapolis today can transition to training robots in California and DC and New York and so on. And we can migrate that workforce to solve different problems in all sorts of industries. It doesn't have to be just last mile delivery robots. And gamification is going to play a big role in that, keeping people excited, keeping people engaged. They want to, they're going to come for the money, but they're going to stay for the excitement and the adrenaline that you're going to get playing these or participating in this new gamified metaverse workforce.
I guess the final thing I'll say, and Amogha, that's a great point. I think the final thing I would add is, and the social media companies today, harvest all of our data. They're fun to maybe scroll up and down, but these metaverse companies, these metaverse experiences are going to be tomorrow's social media companies.
Mm.
When we think about employment in the future, especially within the consumer-facing industry, restaurants, hospitality, food and beverage, other areas that were very busy in health and fitness and wellness or pets, it's all going to come down to creating that memorable experience, positive experience, where people can either walk around as their own avatar with their face, or to Amogha's point, they can walk around as their favorite, NFT project. You want to walk around as your Bored Ape? Great. You want to walk around as your, as a lizard? Awesome. You can do whatever you want and have fun while doing so and feel safe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, I think, lots of people have questions about this stuff because it is early. And so the idea is like, you hear games, and you think like, well, that doesn't apply to my business. But I think it's really clear that the metaverse is going to provide more opportunity to all businesses and to consumers and the workforce. And so, I mean, we could dig into a lot more topics. I've realized that we're out of time now, which is crazy because I have a lot more questions, but we are about to head into a break actually, which is why Mike just popped back on.
Yeah.
And thank you, gentlemen.
I'm the virtual hook. Like it's time to go back.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Which I always go back. I appreciate speakers like Barry and Amogha coming on. This has been great. Yeah, we're going to break half an hour. You can network within the Hopin platform. You can do it in the chat, or you can actually do face-to-face roulette style meetings. After the break, we're coming back and talking with the folks driving and building Gary Vaynerchuk's NFT restaurant, one of the most high-profile projects in the whole Web3 meets food space. So make sure you come back for that. But we'll see everyone soon. We'll be right back. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.